Every woman is already powerful, but her power leaks, not through lack of strength, but through habits that go unnoticed. Pause. That's the paradox. Your energy, your mood, your words, your ability to love deeply or remain unbothered doesn't depend on massive life changes. It depends on the subtle patterns you repeat each day, most of them invisible to the outside world. And these patterns, when not mastered, become your prison. They dictate how you speak under pressure, how you respond to disrespect, whether you attract peace or chaos, whether you build intimacy or destroy it. So today, we are not speaking of success in the worldly sense. We are speaking of self-mastery, not for applause, but for inner alignment, for the type of graceful power that no one can take from you, because it is cultivated within. Let us now walk together through these daily habits, small on the surface, but profound when practiced with awareness. When a woman wakes up in the morning, the world has not yet made its demands on her. In those quiet, early moments, she stands at the edge of a choice, whether to meet the day with scattered noise or silent strength. There is a wisdom that says, how you start your morning is how you carry your energy into the world. And that energy, more than your words or appearance, becomes the first language others read from you. That's why the first daily habit every woman must master is not about doing more. It is about being still. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the act of not attaching to thought. It is the discipline of entering the day from within, rather than from without. In Eastern traditions, the inner world is seen as the origin of all that unfolds outwardly. If your mind is cluttered, your actions will be unfocused. If your heart is restless, your words will carry tension. That is why a woman who trains herself to begin her morning in silence, reflection, or mindful breathing does not just calm her mind. She reclaims her authority over the tone of her life. Modern neuroscience supports this ancient truth. When a woman starts her day with just 10 minutes of intentional silence, before checking messages, before speaking, even before movement, her cortisol levels stabilize. The frontal cortex, responsible for clarity and decision-making, becomes more active. This means she responds to life from her higher awareness, not from old emotional loops. Over time, this builds emotional resilience, a trait more attractive than any physical beauty. There was once a woman in her 50s who shared her experience at a wellness retreat in the mountains. She had spent her entire adult life raising children, working 2 jobs and always rushing. Her body had become tense, her moods unpredictable, her relationships strained. I lived in reaction, she confessed. It was like the world pushed me, and I had to push back. But something shifted when she began a daily practice of waking up at 5:30 a.m., lighting a candle, and sitting in silence for 15 minutes. No phone, no words, just breath. After several weeks, she noticed something peculiar. Her adult son spoke to her more gently. Her co-workers responded to her presence with more respect, and she no longer cried at the smallest frustrations. Stillness had softened her inner world and strengthened her outer presence. She had not changed the world around her. She had simply returned to herself. The feminine spirit is deeply intuitive, but intuition cannot operate in noise. It whispers, it does not shout. That's why this morning practice is not merely spiritual, it is practical. A woman who listens to herself before the world speaks to her develops a calm nervous system. This is her greatest protection in a world that often rewards urgency over wisdom. This is how she starts to cultivate emotional discipline, not through suppression, but through inner anchoring. When a woman begins her day grounded in stillness, her relationships shift. She no longer demands peace from others. She brings peace into the space. Her partner feels safer to be vulnerable. Her children are less reactive because they sense her presence is consistent. Even in conflict, she holds a quiet center. She does not chase, she does not plead, she pauses. And in that pause, she sees things more clearly. She learns that not every comment deserves a response, not every invitation must be accepted, and not every problem is hers to fix. This habit, though simple, is one of the most radical acts of emotional self-respect. It says, before I pour into the world, I will sit with myself. That stillness becomes her sanctuary, and from it, her strength arises. Yet, stillness alone is not enough. We must understand the rhythm of our body, the language of our breath, This leads us to the second daily habit. Every woman must master regulating the emotional body through conscious breathing. We are born knowing how to breathe properly, deep, full, and rhythmic. But over time, through stress, trauma, and cultural conditioning, women begin to hold their breath, especially during emotional tension. They breathe shallowly into the chest, not the belly. And this tells the body, we are under threat. Without realizing it, many women live in a constant low-grade fight or flight state. Not because of real danger, but because their breath tells their nervous system to brace for it. Here's something neuroscience confirms: the breath is one of the only functions that is both automatic and within our control. This means it is a direct bridge between the unconscious mind and conscious awareness. When a woman learns to return to her breath, not just during meditation, but throughout the day, she sends a powerful signal to her body: I am safe. Emotional safety is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. Without it, a woman reacts rather than responds. She over-explains, she people-pleases, she becomes overly defensive. But when her breath is slow and grounded, her entire energy communicates calm confidence. This has a magnetic effect. Her partner feels emotionally held without being controlled. Her friends feel seen without being judged. Even strangers respond with unexpected warmth. Why? Because people are wired to feel others' nervous systems before they even hear their words. I once heard a story of a school teacher in her 60s who had struggled for years with anxiety and chronic fatigue. Her doctor prescribed medications, but nothing brought lasting relief. Eventually, she was introduced to a simple breath practice. Inhale slowly for 4 counts, exhale gently for 6. She practiced this 3 times a day, especially before entering her classroom or engaging in difficult conversations. Within a month, she noticed her heart rate was lower, her thoughts less chaotic. She had more patience with her students and less guilt after disciplining them. Her relationships improved, not because others changed, but because she began to live in a regulated state. The breath had become her anchor. In relationships, breath creates space between stimulus and response. A woman who breathes before reacting becomes less emotionally entangled. She doesn't interrupt, she listens. She speaks slower with precision. This doesn't make her passive, it makes her powerful. Because presence is power, and presence begins with the breath. Even the physiology supports this. Deep belly breathing activates the vagus nerve, which governs parasympathetic calm. This lowers blood pressure, reduces inflammation, and increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. So when a woman breathes consciously, not only is she calming herself, she is creating emotional availability. That is how trust is built, not only in others but within herself. There's a quote from an old Taoist text: "The wise woman breathes from her heels." It's a poetic way of saying that her breath reaches deep into her body, rooting her like a mountain. She is not easily moved by storms. She may feel the rain, but she does not collapse under it. In the modern world, women are often told to move faster, push harder, speak louder. But there is a deeper wisdom available: move slower, breathe deeper, speak less. And when you do speak, let it come from a place of calm truth. Breath is not just a tool for relaxation, it is a discipline of presence. It trains the emotional body to remain open, but not reactive. And in romantic relationships, this is a secret strength. During tension, instead of escalating, she breathes. During silence, she does not fill the space with fear, she inhales trust. She begins to embody emotional stability. This is the kind of presence that inspires respect, not just affection. Imagine a couple in conflict. The man raises his voice. The old pattern might be for the woman to match his volume or shut down in silence. But a woman who has trained her breath pauses. She grounds herself before responding. She slows the rhythm of the conversation. She does not need to control him. She simply regulates herself. And in that moment, she shifts the dynamic, not with dominance, but with calm. This is not about perfection. There will be days when the breath is shallow, when emotions overflow, when silence feels unreachable. But the practice is not about getting it right every time. It is about returning. Again and again. That's where mastery begins. In the return. There is a sacred power in a woman who wakes early, sits in stillness, and remembers how to breathe herself back to center. She no longer looks to the world to make her feel safe. She becomes the safety. She no longer waits for someone to calm her. She calms herself. And in that space, she becomes the kind of woman whose presence is healing simply because she has made peace her daily practice. In life, it is not the event that shapes us, it is our response to the event. And yet, most people are not responding, they are reacting. These are two very different states of being. A reaction is immediate, emotional, and often unconscious. It comes from past wounds, from ego, from fear. A response, however, is measured, intentional, and rooted in presence. The difference between the two may appear subtle, but the consequences are not. For a woman seeking emotional balance, peace in her relationships, and inner strength, the ability to observe before reacting is not just a habit, it is a path to self-mastery. Imagine this: a woman walks into a room where her partner sits silently.